Thank you for joining Wealth Chat. This Thank you for joining the Wealth Chat. Today we have Jennifer Black joining us. We have partnered up together, and we've just been combining our talents and our resources together to, educate other people, other women, other men. We don't leave children out. There's times that we come together once a month to play the cash flow game, so we let the children play as well. Um, but we will be doing some online courses very soon, which we're very excited about. And Jennifer, she will be handling the investment portion of our online courses. And so, Jennifer, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do and how we can reach you and contact you outside of the Facebook group, of course.
Okay. So as she said, my name is Jennifer Black. A little bit about me or my background is I'm an accountant. That's my regular day job. That's what I have my degree in. But I want to say about 10 years ago or so, I started getting real curious about stock market. I kind of wanted to give it a try. I didn't know anybody at the time that was involved in, the market. So I didn't really have anybody that I could use as as a mentor, have as a mentor to help me. So it was kind of one of those things where it's like, just jump in and sink or swim. So, I made a lot of mistakes in the beginning. While I was getting my feet wet and trying to learn it. And so that's kind of one of the things that, we're planning to do with this is I'd like to be able to, for my part of it, I want to be able to help people and show people how to get started, because for a lot of people, the stock market can be very intimidating. And, so I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say, I want to start, but I just don't know how to get going. How do I even just get my foot in the door?
Right.
So that's kind of where we're at with it and where I want to start teaching people how to get started. So.
Awesome. And, we have similar stories. We have so much in common to where we have taken our finances into our own hands. And so just looking at, we work full-time jobs, and on the side, we do, I call them a side hustle, and, but yeah, just like you, I wanted to learn how to invest, and went to the library and read some books, and over the years, the knowledge just kept being, added on. So what I didn't understand back then, I have a little bit more knowledge today. And one good thing that excites me about you is that you're real good with numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And we were playing cash flow yesterday, and you were like, Renee, you should have taken that deal. I panicked when I saw a negative number. And so that's one thing that I hope to glean, from your class, just learning how to work with the numbers. And now, is there a certain strategy that you use for stock buying, or
Well, I find that strategies
like
really
a method that you follow?
Yeah, well, basically, how it works is with investing, everybody has a different strategy. Different advisors will tell you different things. And really, what it all boils down to is what you are most comfortable with, what what risk level you're comfortable. Are you only comfortable with super safe, conservative types of investments, or are you moderate or more aggressive? So that's really what it boils down to. And then it also depends a lot on your goals. So the strategy that you use for, say, retirement savings is going to be a lot different than what your strategy that you use for, say, building an emergency fund. And that's kind of what I will be covering in the different classes is, savings based upon what your goals are, because those strategies will look very different depending on what you're, and sometimes you're saving for multiple goals. So you're going to have, several different strategies playing out at the same time. It just depends on your individual situation. So.
Okay. And for example, someone my age, 55, single, empty nester. Would you suggest me going the aggressive route, the moderate route, the conservative route?
That really depends on when you plan on retiring. If that's what your savings goals are, more for retirement purposes at this point, it really depends on the age that you plan on retiring. If you want to retire sometime within the next couple of years, then you are going to want to go the more conservative route. I mean, obviously, again, it really depends on what your comfort level is too. There are some people that are completely risk adverse and they don't want any sort of, you know what I mean? They just want so completely safe. They don't care if they lose out on potential earnings. But it really depends, you know, like I said, when you plan on retiring, you can do, if you're still looking at about 10 years out, you can go, you know, mostly conservative, but you can have a little bit of risk, you know. Maybe like a 75-25 split where, you know, 25% of your investments are a little bit more riskier because you want to be able to earn still on what you're putting in there. You don't want to, you know, you do still have some time to earn, you know. And then also the guidelines that they're basically used to be basically, you know, they had a certain formula they would use based upon your age, you know, and retirement and everything. But they've been changing that lately because of the fact that people are living a lot longer now. You know, so you need to make sure that you have funds to last you for a longer period of time than, you know, previously. So some of the guidelines that they used to say, the tried and true things, they've kind of been changing those a lot in regards to, you know, how long you should go risky versus how long you should go more conservative. So.
Definitely agree there. And now I know that we had posed a question this week about having an emergency fund and finding that there's a lot of people that have no type of foundation. So I was interested on some of the people. I mean, you definitely give some great points there that say if something happens that you have something to fall back on. And so if you could speak a little bit more to the emergency fund.
Well, an emergency fund, you know, I'm sure, you know, most everybody's heard of, you know, what an emergency fund is, and it's exactly that. When emergencies come up or unexpected things that you don't have in your regular budget, you need to have an emergency fund to turn to, you know, handle those situations because, you know, let's face it, when things do happen, as they always do, if you don't have an emergency fund, where do you go to, you know, take care of that? Usually it's a credit card. It's taking money out of your 401k, you know, taking loans out against your 401k or hardship withdrawals out of it, where you are taking, you're going to have major penalties for doing so, you know, if you're prior to retirement age. So, you know, having that emergency fund definitely helps you from having to go those routes. And honestly, just for me personally, once I finally got, you know, my emergency fund in place, I can't tell you what it did for my mental well-being because it's no longer like, you know, living in constant fear, like, okay, what if this happens? What if my car breaks down? What if this, that? And, you know, it totally changes your mental well-being, your mindset once you have that in place. You actually have like breathing room where you don't, you know, constantly worry about, you know, finances. So it's pretty important. And then as far as the investment.
That is so true. Yeah, that is so true.
The thing with emergency funds too is now, and this is where I was saying that everybody has a different strategy. Like if you talk to financial advisors, some will tell you that an emergency fund needs to stay 100% in cash. Some will tell you that you can, you know, put it in, you know, money market, you know, funds. And really how I approach it is you have to look at where your individual situation is as far as like your job, for example. If you have an incredibly stable job, you can invest a little bit of your emergency fund so you're at least getting some kind of returns on it. For example, my job is very stable and I have several layers. I know there's a lot of people will say, well, a lot of people thought they had a stable job, and that is true, but you have to look like if you have layers of stability. For example, with my job, I am a government employee, but then I'm also a disabled veteran. So I can be a little bit more risky with my emergency fund because I know that they would have to go through several layers before I would be able to, before I could be laid off, let go, whatever. And like, say, for example, if you are in a commission type job, that's not, there's a much more risk in that. So then your emergency fund would need to stay very extremely conservative because if anything were, to happen, you need to be able to have all those funds available to you. So just some thoughts on that.
Yeah, excellent. Now, you also talk about having life insurance with living benefits. And can you tell us more about that option?
Yes. So basically, most people are familiar with the old school type life insurance. You take out a life insurance policy, and if anything happens to you, when you die, then your beneficiary receives the payment. And that's pretty much life insurance. It's been around forever. Well, now, recently in the last couple of years, they've come out with policies that they say, or they're called living benefits that are attached to pretty much all of them. And what that means is that if you were to say you had a heart attack, stroke, cancer, many different, conditions, serious conditions, you don't actually have to die to access a portion of that, death benefit. You can actually take a portion of it to help pay for medical bills, pay for whatever you need. Because the thing is, and the statistics that are coming out are saying that, people, yes, they're living longer, but not only are they living longer, when they get sick, they're not dying, which, I mean, yes, that's a good thing. But what is happening is it's leaving people in a crunch as far as, financially, medical bills and everything, where they can't afford to pay for them. So that's why life insurance has kind of evolved to, take that into consideration. And it's a great advantage to have. A lot of times when I work with clients, we go through and we do a review on their policy, and they find that they have the old style ones. So then they want to upgrade to this one because it's, it's definitely a great benefit to have. So.
Well, definitely, because I work in the managed healthcare field, and there's Medicaid, which the state takes care of 100% for those that qualify. But then the Medicare, you have to come up with, they pay 80%, and then you have to pay out of pocket 20%. And then we have working people that don't have insurance. So, I mean, there's just different categories, and it sounds like it's a great option available for, when my mom, she was in her 70s and she passed away, but she was in better health than me, but she had got dementia. And I didn't see that coming. I was blindsided by that. So definitely just having to take on that responsibility. So it's not even so much thinking about yourself anymore, but thinking about our parents, thinking about our children. So definitely that sounds like an excellent
and that's exactly it. Like you said, I recently, about a year ago, or actually a little less than a year ago, I took out a policy on my mother, which I am the owner of the policy. I pay for it because I know that when the time comes, I will need to step in and help, financially. So I did that, ahead of time. So that way, if anything were to happen to her, and her policy has the living benefits. So if she were to get sick, whether it be chronically, critically, or terminally ill, she has a pot of funds to pull money from to help with whatever bills, come up. And that's something that's really important, especially, like you said, as children, you have to, it's not so much even just, yourself and your children. And as your parents get older, you have to start thinking about them, so, yeah.
And that gives us something to think about, because if there's not enough to cover our parents, what's going to be left for us? So definitely. So great information, Jennifer. And I want to make sure, was there anything that you would like to add that I may not have asked that would be beneficial? And then also, Jennifer is part of the Facebook group, You can ask your questions, and she's in there all the time, so she will answer any questions that you may have. And also, Jennifer, just let people know how they can get in touch with you outside, because you do specialize on one-on-one connection. So if they wanted to speak to you, not so much in the group where everyone can see their questions, but if they wanted to contact you outside of the group,
Yeah,
tell us how
definitely.
we can.
Definitely. Well, my email is kingdominsurance@att.net. I'm on Facebook under Jennifer Black. If you wanted to send me an instant message, I can be reached there too. Or in the, like she said, in the group Facebook, if you want to reach out to me there too, that's, you can do that as well. One thing that I did want to add on there, one additional thing is, like we were talking about as far as investing, I guess one thing I really want to impress upon people is that it's never too late to get started, and it's never too little to get started. A lot of people have the misconception that, well, I don't have at least a couple $1,000s, or I don't have, you know, $5,000, $10,000, so I really can't do anything with what I have. And that's not the case at all. There's been a lot of changes with the last, I always forget the name of it. I don't know if you know, Renee, that plan that Trump put through, the Tax Cut and Job Act, or I always get that thing mixed up, but whatever. The point is, when that passed, it really opened the doors to a lot of people, your average Joes that don't have a whole lot of money to invest. There's a lot of different platforms, and where, you know, back in the day, you had to be what's called an accredited investor, which means that you had to make over $200,000 a year for the past 2 years, or have $1 million in net worth to just even get in the game. When that act or bill or whatever, once it passed, that just wiped all of that out. So now everybody can get in the game. I mean, I'm talking as little as, if you can only afford to put $10 a paycheck in, you can absolutely do that to get started. So I don't want people, I guess that's the biggest thing I want to impress upon people, is that don't ever feel like, well, I don't have enough to start, because there's nothing too little at this point. So.
Awesome. That is so true. Once you get started and you start building, it catches on fire. And next thing you look back and you're like, oh, okay, I have a nice little nest egg, or I have my stock portfolios off the charts, or my real estate, or my business is booming. It's just constantly just chugging away. And then, you know, I think I started at $25 every pay. And then after a while, I just kept giving myself a raise, you know, so.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially right now with everything that's going on with the way the market has been down because of the coronavirus, right now, all these stocks are on sale. They are cheap, cheap compared to what, you know, they traditionally have been at their highs. So now is an absolutely wonderful time to get started. Definitely a great time. So.
Yes. I want Amazon to come down a little bit.
I know, right? So.
Well, thank you, Jennifer. We'll go ahead and wrap it up. And again, even though this is a recorded message, you can speak to Jennifer live. She'll be more than happy to answer any questions. If you want to set up an appointment with her so she can get you started with a life insurance plan with living benefits, and or if you want to get started in the stock market, she is the person that specializes in that. So thank you, everyone. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.